Let's open up the oven. Oh, baby. Look at this. Yes. That's the good burn. That's the char you're looking for. What's up, guys? I'm at home, and I'm going to show you, well, the one recipe that you guys request more than anything else, which is, Kevin, please show me how to make pizza at home. So before you pizza haters come at me with like, what kind of style is this pizza? This is the pizza from my childhood. This is me craving that pan pizza that I would get as a kid that's buttery and gooey and super greasy, and that's exactly what we're going to make. So not hard. 100% of these ingredients came from my local, like, run-of-the-mill grocery store. So you guys absolutely can make this. This is not chefy, but there are a couple chef tricks in here that'll make it work a lot better. So we don't need to do much. Most of this stuff is ready to go, but we're going to throw some mushrooms on our pizza today. And so what I do want to do is cook these mushrooms. That's the first chef trick. Don't throw raw mushrooms on your pizza. Why? Because they don't taste like anything, and also because they're full of water. So that's not going to be great either. So let's get them chucked into a saute pan, cook them down, let all that water go. We're going to add a little bit of garlic and some seasoning and stuff, make them taste like something, and then it's pretty much build your pizza. So I'm going to get the pan fired up. All right, guys, so I have my pan, which is just like a basic stainless steel pan, by the way. Nothing fancy either. I have it on high heat, though, and I mean like as high as it'll go. Like, I doubt your stove at home could possibly get too hot. So trust me on this, mushrooms want to be cooked over super, super high heat. First ingredient, a little bit of butter. Chuck it in there, and a little bit of olive oil. But now while that's melting, this is just what they call them, like baby bellas or cremini mushrooms or brown field mushrooms. It doesn't matter. Like, don't go fancy mushroom when you're talking about like pan pizza, because we're gonna swallow it up with mushrooms and pepperoni and everything else, and you don't really want the fancy stuff. So cheap mushrooms into the pan. A little pinch of salt right here. And then here's the trick to your mushrooms coming out the right way. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. Like, resist every urge in your being to go over here and mess with this pan. I promise that if you leave them, you will get much, much, much better color. And what we want is a roasted mushroom. We don't want a steamed mushroom. We don't want a raw mushroom. We don't want a canned mushroom, for the love of God. If you have any of those, throw those in the garbage right now. We want something that actually has a really good color to it and a really good flavor. As a matter of fact, take a look in the pan and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, guys, mushrooms are done. They're just going to chill in their pan for a second. Let's make some pizza sauce. I'm going to move some stuff out of my way here for a second, just to get a little bit more room on my board. This is just my empty bowl from the mushrooms, but we can reuse this. So crushed tomatoes. There's nothing in this, by the way, other than tomatoes. Like, that's the key call out. When you go to the grocery store and you're buying canned tomatoes, tomatoes and salt, that's about as far as you want to go. This is not a cooked pizza sauce. I want to stress that here. Cooked tomato sauce is like marinara. It's like for pasta and stuff like that. When you cook a pizza, this thing's going to bake at 500 degrees, so we don't have to cook it. It's going to cook on the pizza. So it's better to leave it really sharp and intense, like the raw tomato, than it is to cook it. So here's what I like to put in mine. A nice big pinch of dried oregano. And when I say a big pinch, by the way, guys, I'm talking about, kind of my pinch, which when I've measured it before, comes out to like 2 teaspoons as a single pinch. So that was dried oregano, dried basil, the same with kosher salt, maybe even 2 pinches here. I like my pizza sauce to be just like a tiny bit on the salty side. I don't know. That's just a personal preference. You don't have to. You can leave the salt out entirely if you want to. And then I just have some chopped up raw garlic here. There's nothing done to it. I just chopped it up. So add that, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, probably a tablespoon, I'd say. You don't have to have the fancy horse head bottle. You can just use whatever and just give it a stir together. And it's as simple as that. We'll just set this aside. This is our pizza sauce. It's not elaborate by any stretch of the imagination, but this is going to give you that kind of Americana pizzeria sauce flavor, but it's a lot less sweet. That's one thing I do leave out of mine. I don't add any sugar to it. I'm not a sweet pizza sauce kind of guy. Just me. If you like it, put some in yours. Well, let's give it a taste here. Just going to use the back of my spoon. Yep, that's what I want. Salty. Got the oregano, got the basil. Definitely got a lot of the garlic in there. Again, personal preference for the flavor. Looks good to me. Set that aside. Let's grab, what do we need? All right, let's talk through what else we have here, first of all. 2 types of cheese. I'm a big proponent of the idea of a base layer of cheese, meaning cheese that prevents the sauce from making the pizza soggy. And for me, I don't know if this is like a New Haven thing. I don't really know where it comes from, but I like provolone for that. And that's what I have these rounds here. I literally just go to the deli and ask them to slice provolone for sandwiches, and that's what I have. So sharp provolone. Then I have mozzarella. This is important. I don't buy it shredded in a bag. Why? Because the stuff in a bag is coated in cornstarch and God knows what else. and it sucks and it doesn't melt very good. So just buy a block of mozzarella and take this thing right here and test your forearm strength and grate yourself up some mozzarella cheese. I also have some cooked Italian sausage. So this doesn't have a casing on it. I've taken, I bought links and then I just cooked them in the oven and then pulled the casing off of it and kind of chopped it up. I like to pre-cook it, and that's because Italian sausage has a lot of fat in it, tons and tons, which is delicious. Obviously, I've had quite a bit of it in my life, but it's not great when you put it on your pizza because it just goes everywhere. So I like to pre-cook it. I think it comes out a little bit better. And then I have pepperoni. I buy a stick of pepperoni instead of the pre-sliced stuff because it's not hard to slice it. And I like kind of getting these like irregular, some thin, some thick slices. I don't know. To me, that just has a little bit more of that homey feel. So those are all of our ingredients. And shout out to Publix, by the way, because I bought everything at Publix. And if you don't have one nearby, Kroger, Shaw's, whatever your brand is will work fine. Last thing, obviously, pizza dough. Store-bought pizza dough, for that matter. I buy this, again, out of the Publix like bakery. They're like raw pizza dough. Now, I will put up another video for you guys on how to make pizza dough. But that's a whole other thing. And it's another like couple days work. So use it, don't use it. Buy it from the store. For this style of pizza, I don't really think it makes a huge difference. If we were doing it in the wood-burning oven outside and we were doing a true Neapolitan, you got to make that at home. For this, kind of anything will work. So let's build one. All right, guys, so the first thing you got to have is a pan, preferably a cast iron pan. You can use like an aluminum or a steel pan. Cast iron works way better. It could be a regular cast iron skillet, or you can go with what I have, which is this thing, which is actually a paella pan. I don't know how big it is, a pretty big paella pan. But this is from Lodge. You can buy these. They're not expensive. Awesome pizza pan. So that's what I have right here. And by the way, I've used this like 1,000 times. So if you see kind of like a funny color, that's because this has made loads and loads of pizzas. So what goes in first? Well, the first thing actually is fat. And that sounds insane because it's not going to stick to this. But the flavor that I'm searching for from my childhood is this like buttery pizza crust. So I just take that leftover butter from my mushrooms and kind of smear it around here all the way up the sides, on the bottom. I think I mentioned this is not like the heart healthy pizza of the evening. So anyhow, that's what we got. A little bit of butter on here, something nice and greasy. Now, let's take our pizza dough. So this is going to make kind of a fluffier, almost like, not focaccia, not deep dish either. It's sort of halfway in between, I guess you'd say. It's pan pizza. That's what we're working with. So all I'm doing right now, guys, is just kind of tossing this back and forth to get this dough stretched out. You can 100% buy one of these where they've like already machine rolled it out. And that's not bad, but what I find is that it puffs kind of weird. Like it doesn't puff up as much. And I make this a little thicker than I had it as a kid because my wife prefers like thick crust pizza. She's from the Midwest, so that's what she likes. So I have this, chuck it into the bottom of my pan, and then what I start doing here is smushing it around in the bottom of my pan. And what I'm trying to do, by the way, is completely cover the bottom of this pan and actually like creep up on the sides a little bit. So let's do that. And this will take me just a few seconds here. So I'll just keep working, keep twisting. We'll probably speed this up so it looks a little bit cooler. All right, guys, pizza crust is in, stretched, a little thicker on the edges, just as you would expect. Smush it all the way around so it's kind of coming up on the side of this pan, but not over the top, like not curled over the top, just sort of, I don't know, maybe halfway up this thing, give or take. All right, that's the crust in the bottom of it. Now, here's our barrier. This is that barrier cheese I was talking about. This is our provolone. Now check this out. We take this and we go all the way up, like past the edge of this. So maybe like a 1/4 inch above where the pizza crust lands. And what's going to happen there is we're going to get like this roasted, toasty, like when your grilled cheese sandwich kind of explodes and all the cheese comes out the side of it. Like that's what we're going to get, and it's delicious. All right, pizza sauce. Don't go haywire on this. Like this is not a like more is more thing. This is a less is more thing. So a couple spoonfuls of sauce is what I find is all you need. And just kind of give this a smear around there. All right, what do we need now? Let's do sausage. So cooked Italian sausage. This is like a mild sausage, by the way, not super spicy. And then I just kind of break it up and throw the chunks onto here. Like wherever they land is fine. A little bit more here. This one can hold a little bit more toppings than like a Neapolitan or like a thin crust pizza. You can be a little bit more gratuitous with your toppings. That looks pretty good. All right, mushrooms. Got them in our pan right here. They've been cooling down. So, but you can see they're nice and brown and they've released all their liquid, which is what's important. So let's give those a sprinkle on here as well. All right. Now, we have 2 toppings left. We have pepperoni and we have mozzarella. Now, this comes down to a matter of personal preference. You can drop the pepperoni on now, cover it in cheese. That'll give you a little bit more even browning on your cheese, which I think looks really cool, but you won't get any of that like crackly pepperoni. Or you could do it in reverse and you go down cheese and then pepperoni and you get the crackly pepperoni. Now, what I like to do is split the difference here. So I'm going to go with a little bit of cheese down first. Just a sprinkle. Then I'm going to do some pepperoni. Then I'm going to repeat the process. That way I kind of get best of both worlds here. So drop some pepperoni on. Remember, these are pretty thick, so this is definitely a less is more thing. You don't need as many of them because they're not paper thin. You didn't buy the cheap pepperoni. You bought the good stuff. Now, more cheese. And this is when we get kind of crazy and we're like, you know what? The cheese is touching the pan and everything. Again, we want that like kind of over the top toasted cheese thing going on. And then we go back with some more pepperoni on here. Now we throw it in our oven. I've preheated this oven, by the way. You probably hear it going in the background. That's the convection fan from my oven. I think it works better on convection. If you don't have convection, it's no big deal. What is important is the temp, and this thing's at 500 degrees, which I know sounds like you're going to burn your pizza, and actually you are going to kind of burn it just a little bit, but it's going to be the good kind of burn, the burn that actually tastes really good. So 500 degrees until it's GBD, golden brown and delicious. How long is that going to take? I don't really know. I think it's about 15 minutes, but we'll watch it and see, and I'll put my notes in the recipe in the comments. So let's pop it in the oven. All right, guys, it's been 14 minutes, not 15, and this thing looks pretty damn good here. So let's open up the oven. Oh, baby. Look at this. Yes. That's the good burn. That's the char you're looking for. All right, guys, so here's our pizza. Nice and charred. This is not burned, by the way. This is like what you want it to be. This is delicious. This is flavor. So right out of the oven, hit this crust with just a little bit of olive oil, and it's just going to make it look nice and shiny. A little drizzle in the middle. Doesn't hurt. And then this is like one of my QVC purchases, your little cheese grater deal. I have this full of Pecorino Romano, and I'm just going to shower this bad boy in Pecorino all the way around the crust, middle, whole shebang. Yes. Now, the super hard part. I have to let this sit for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that. If we cut it right now, it's going to go everywhere. So a little bit of patience. Grab yourself a beer, get your plates ready for dinner, and then come back here in just a second, and I'll show you the last garnish that goes on this, and then we'll cut it up, and then you'll be ready to eat. All right, guys, we've waited, 6 minutes, give or take, something like that. It's still hot as shit, but it's not quite as hot as it was. So final garnish for this, get yourself a fancy basil plant like I have, or you can just buy a pack of basil, it'll be fine. But we want to scatter some basil leaves on. And I don't do this when it's like straight out of the oven because literally it'll just kill the basil. Like the basil will have no taste. It'll just get annihilated by the heat. You still want it hot, like we still want it warm, but not straight out of the 500 degree oven warm. And when you drop this on, I wish you guys could smell this. It just, the second it hits the surface of the hot pizza, it smells amazing. All right, I think that looks about right. Pizza cutter, because we're not in Italy, and we in fact do cut our pizza here in this country. So that, the sound you're looking for, that crunch right there, man, this is gonna be good. Oh, let's go with another. Maybe one more. There we go. All right, guys, that's it. That is our, mom and pop Locust Grove style pizza. Like, this is my home style classic pan pizza. If you like that pizza with a super crunchy edge, loads of toppings, kind of greasy, makes you think of your childhood, this is the one that you're going to want to try out. And it's not hard. 14 minutes and all of the ingredients from the grocery store. So hope you guys enjoy it. Come back. I'll hit you with something new next week.